Hey everyone, welcome back to another exploration of the unexplained in our everyday spaces. I'm here with you tonight from Hong Kong, where the neon lights never truly sleep. And neither, it seems, do some of the stories hidden within our most familiar places. Today we're talking about something we all use but rarely think about. Public restrooms in shopping malls. You know the ones. Sterile white tiles that echo your footsteps. Fluorescent lights that flicker just enough to notice, and mirrors that reflect more than just your appearance. These spaces exist in a strange liminal zone, neither fully public nor truly private, places where we're momentarily vulnerable and alone. In Chinese culture, mirrors and bathrooms hold particular significance. Mirrors, according to feng shui principles, can trap negative energy or serve as doorways between worlds. Bathrooms, being places of cleansing and waste, occupy an uncomfortable spiritual territory. Necessary, but spiritually unclean. When you combine these elements in the confined space of a mall restroom, especially late at night when the crowds have thinned and the cleaning staff work in distant corners, something interesting happens to the atmosphere. The harsh lighting creates deep shadows in unexpected places. The constant hum of ventilation systems masks smaller sounds, a footstep, a door closing, perhaps something else entirely. And those mirrors, positioned to catch every angle, sometimes catch things we're not quite ready to see. What happened to our witness might make you think twice about that innocent glance in the restroom mirror. Her experience began ordinarily enough, the way these stories always do, with nothing more than a routine, late-night bathroom visit that would forever change how she saw her own reflection. Let's call her Sarah, a 28-year-old retail manager who had been working late shifts at one of Tsim Sha Tsui's busiest shopping complexes for nearly 3 years. You know the type of place. Gleaming marble floors that reflect the designer storefront lights, the constant background hum of air conditioning, and by 10 p.m., corridors that echo with the hollow footsteps of security guards and the distant sound of metal grates being pulled down over storefronts. Sarah's routine was carved in stone. Inventory until 9:45, lock up the register, grab her purse from the back office, and then, always, a quick stop at the 4th floor restroom before catching the last MTR train home to her flat in Mongkok. She preferred the 4th floor facilities because they were cleaner than the busy ground floor ones, and by that hour, usually empty. The restroom itself was typical of Hong Kong mall construction. White ceramic tiles from floor to ceiling, motion sensor lights that clicked on with a soft buzz, and a long mirror spanning the entire sink area. 3 stalls lined the far wall, their cream-colored doors marked with simple silver numbers. The air always carried that distinct smell of industrial disinfectant, mixed with the faint dampness that seems to cling to all Hong Kong bathrooms, despite the best ventilation systems. On this particular Tuesday evening in late September, Sarah pushed through the restroom door and noticed the usual things. All 3 stall doors closed, the automatic faucets silent, her own tired reflection looking back from the mirror as she approached the sinks. She had been battling a persistent headache all day, the kind that comes from too much fluorescent lighting and too little sleep. As she washed her hands, watching the soap foam between her fingers, she caught something in her peripheral vision. In the mirror's reflection, the door to the 3rd stall, the one furthest from the entrance, was slowly swinging open. Sarah paused, hands still under the running water, and glanced over her shoulder. All 3 doors remained closed. She looked back at the mirror. In the reflection, the 3rd stall door stood completely open, revealing only darkness within. "Maybe I'm more tired than I thought," she whispered to herself, the sound of her voice seeming too loud in the empty space. When she looked directly at the stalls again, everything appeared normal. But standing there, hands dripping, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching her from that 3rd stall. Something that existed only in reflections. The next night, Sarah found herself thinking about that open stall door during her entire shift. She had convinced herself it was fatigue. Working retail during Hong Kong's humid autumn could drain anyone, but as 10 p.m. approached, she felt an unusual knot of anticipation in her stomach. This time, she was deliberate. Before approaching the sinks, Sarah walked the length of the restroom, pushing each stall door to ensure they were properly latched. The first door, closed and locked. The second, same. The 3rd stall, the one from the mirror, she pushed it firmly, hearing the satisfying click of the latch engaging completely. "There," she said aloud, her voice echoing slightly off the tiles. "All closed." She positioned herself at the middle sink, turned on the faucet, and began her usual routine. The water was warmer tonight, steam rising slightly from the basin. As she lathered soap between her palms, she kept her eyes focused straight ahead, watching her own reflection carefully. Then it happened again. In the mirror, slowly, deliberately, the 3rd stall door began to open. But this time Sarah could hear it, the soft metallic protest of the hinge, a sound barely audible over the running water, but definitely there. The door in the reflection swung wide, revealing not darkness this time, but what appeared to be a figure standing inside. Sarah's hands froze under the water. The figure was indistinct, pale, wearing what looked like clothing from another era. It stood perfectly still, facing outward toward where Sarah stood at the sink. Heart hammering, Sarah spun around to look directly at the stalls. The 3rd door was open. Actually open. It swayed slightly on its hinges, the metal creaking softly, as if it had just been moved. The stall itself was empty, but Sarah could swear she smelled something strange. Not the usual disinfectant, but something floral and old-fashioned, like the jasmine incense her grandmother used to burn. "Hello?" she called out, her voice shakier than she intended. "Is someone there?" The silence that followed felt heavy, expectant. The door continued to sway gently, and Sarah realized that there was no air current in the restroom strong enough to move it. She grabbed her purse and left quickly, but not before she heard, just as the restroom door closed behind her, the soft sound of the stall door clicking shut again. By the 3rd night, Sarah had barely slept. She kept thinking about that figure in the mirror, the scent of jasmine, the way the door had moved with no explanation. Part of her wanted to avoid the 4th floor restroom entirely, but a larger part, the rational, skeptical part, needed answers. She arrived at the security office 15 minutes before her usual restroom visit. Let's call the guard Uncle Wong, a man in his 60s who had been working mall security for over a decade. He had the weathered face of someone who had seen everything and the patient demeanor of someone who had learned not to judge. "Miss, you want to check bathroom camera?" Uncle Wong asked in his mix of Cantonese and English, raising an eyebrow. "Something wrong?" Sarah explained about the stall door, feeling foolish as the words left her mouth. Uncle Wong listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious as she described the figure in the mirror. "Ah," he said quietly when she finished. "Third stall. You want to see recording from yesterday, yes?" They huddled around the small security monitor. The timestamp showed 10:02 p.m., exactly when Sarah had been there. She watched herself enter the restroom, check each stall door, and position herself at the sink. Everything appeared normal until 10:03, when the camera image suddenly filled with horizontal static lines, the kind you might see on an old television. "Camera problem," Uncle Wong muttered, but his voice carried no conviction. When the static cleared 3 seconds later, the image was perfectly normal again, except for one detail that made Sarah's blood run cold. Standing in the third stall, clearly visible in the camera's direct view, was a pale woman in a white qipao dress from what appeared to be the 1950s. Her hair was styled in the finger waves popular decades ago, and her face, while beautiful, carried an expression of profound sadness. The figure stood there for exactly 12 seconds, looking directly at the camera. Then the screen filled with static again, and when it cleared, she was gone. Uncle Wong sat back in his chair, his face grave. "Miss," he said slowly, "I think I must tell you something. About 15 years ago, when Mall first opened, young woman collapse in third stall. Very sudden. Doctors say heart problem, but," he shrugged, "she was getting married next week. Wedding dress fitting, shopping for new life. Then, nothing." Sarah stared at the frozen security footage, at the unmistakable image of someone who should not exist. "Her name was Mei-Lin," Uncle Wong continued. "Family buried her in the white qipao she planned to wear for tea ceremony. Since then, sometimes," he gestured vaguely at the monitor, "sometimes she visits." The security camera had captured what mirrors had been showing all along. Not a threat, but a presence that had been trying, in the only way she could, to make herself known. The next morning, Sarah couldn't focus on inventory reports or customer complaints. Every time she passed the fourth-floor restroom, she thought about Mei-Lin, standing in that stall, forever frozen in her white qipao, forever waiting for a wedding that would never come. During her lunch break, she approached her manager, a practical woman in her 50s who had been running retail operations in Hong Kong long enough to understand that some things couldn't be explained away with logic alone. "I want to put up a small memorial," Sarah said carefully. "Nothing obvious, just something to acknowledge, to show respect." Her manager listened to the abbreviated version of the story, nodding thoughtfully. That afternoon, a small brass plaque appeared on the wall near the restroom entrance. It was subtle, elegant, inscribed in both Chinese and English, "In memory of those who came before us. May you find peace." The change was immediate and profound. Sarah's next late-night restroom visit passed without incident. No opening doors, no figures in mirrors, no scent of jasmine. Just the normal sounds of running water, humming lights, and her own reflection looking back at her, tired, but no longer afraid. Uncle Wong later told her that other staff members had noticed the difference too. The fourth-floor restroom felt lighter somehow, more peaceful. The motion sensors worked more reliably, the lighting seemed warmer, and that persistent dampness that had always clung to the air seemed to have finally lifted. In Chinese tradition, restless spirits, especially those who died with unfulfilled dreams or during important life transitions, often linger in places that held significance for them. Mei-Lin's spirit wasn't malevolent. She was simply seeking acknowledgement, a form of respect that would allow her to move on. The concept of hungry ghosts teaches us that some souls remain earthbound not out of anger, but out of a deep need to be remembered, to have their existence validated by the living. Of course, there are logical explanations to consider. The mall's older infrastructure could cause mirrors to vibrate subtly, creating optical illusions. Stress and late-night fatigue can produce hallucinations, and confirmation bias might have led Sarah to see patterns where none existed. The security camera's static could have been a simple technical malfunction, and the timing merely coincidental. But Sarah knows what she saw in that mirror, and Uncle Wong has the footage to prove that sometimes our reflections show us more than we expect. Whether you believe in spirits seeking acknowledgement, or simply the power of respect and remembrance to heal old wounds, one thing remains clear. In a city as densely populated as Hong Kong, even in death, no one truly wants to be forgotten. What do you think happened in that third stall mirror? Was it a grieving spirit finally finding peace, or something else entirely? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more true ghost stories from across Asia.